Okay, so the last thing from the 1.3 notes is sort of putting it all together and understanding the terminology and the symbols. All right, and so this is going to be sort of the stuff that these are the types of questions that will be asked on the test. Homework and quizzes. All right, so just sort of putting it into practice. All right, let P represent the statement you drive too fast. Let Q represent the statement you get a traffic ticket. Express using symbols the statement if you don't drive too fast. All right, so we don't drive too fast. You will not get a ticket. All right, so there's negation here. If not P, right, you're not going to drive too fast, then not Q. If you're putting it completely in symbols, it would be not P implies not Q, or even completely in symbols. That little swirl out front means not the original statement. All right, so not P implies not Q. All right, write the statement stop talking or I'll leave as a conditional statement. So we want an if-then statement. All right, so the conditional statement is we want something to imply. So imply you're going to leave, right? That's what we want. All right, so if they stop talking, they're not going to leave. All right, so that's not what we want. So if you don't stop talking, that implies that you're going to leave. All right, so if you do not stop talking, then I'll leave, right? This implies that, right? With the conditional statement, we want something to happen that will imply the conditional part. All right, so if you don't stop talking, then I'll leave. All right, the conditional statement, or consider the statement, sorry. It is a conditional. If I buy this MP3 player, then I can listen to my favorite songs. Formulate the inverse. All right, so remember the inverse is if not P, then not Q. That's what we want to look for. All right, so if P is we're going to buy the MP3, Q is we're going to listen to my favorite songs. All right, so the inverse is if I do not buy this MP3, then I cannot listen to my favorite songs. Right? So inverse. You put the not on both statements, right? Not whatever the original statement was for the premise and not the original statement was for the conclusion. All right, number 4, translate the sentence into symbols by assigning letters to the statement that do not contain a negative. If we pass my bill, the economy will recover. So P is pass the bill. Q is the economy will recover. So we want to put it in symbolic form. So if P, then Q is what this is. So P implies Q. That's the symbolic form for that statement. The pass the bill implies the economy will recover. So if P, then Q. And that's the symbol for that. It's implying. All right, let P represent the statement you live in Utah. Q is the statement you work in New York. You live in Utah. Q represents the statement you work in Nevada. Use this information to represent the given statement, again in symbols. Nobody who works in Nevada can live. Nobody who works in Nevada can live in Utah. All right, so works in Nevada is what we're given. That's the again, the premise, we work in Nevada. When they're working in Nevada, they can't live in Utah, right? If they're working in Nevada, nobody can live in Utah. And so what we're looking for here is the if you work in Nevada, then you cannot live in Utah. So it's rewriting it sort of as the conditional first. Alright, so putting it in that form is easier to then go back and write it in symbol form. So working in Nevada was the Q. Alright, so if Q, then you live in Utah, but it's the negation of it. If you're working in Nevada, you can't live in Utah, so not P. So if Q, if you work in Nevada, then you cannot live in Utah. And so that's the symbols. If you write it out all in symbols, Q, then not P, or again going completely to symbols. Q implies not P. All right, so working in Nevada implies you can't live in Utah. Number 6. Translate the given statement again to symbolic. So the book really wants you to do it in symbolic form by assigning letters to the statement that do not contain a negative. All right, so I'll go downtown with you if we can go to a movie or a restaurant. All right. So P1, we can go to the movie. P2, we can go to the restaurant. Q, I'll go to downtown with you. So this is the if part, and this is the then part. Right? If you can go to a restaurant. Alright, so I should do movie first. So if we can go to a movie or a restaurant, then I will go downtown. You can read that. So if I do one of these two things, then this will happen. All right, so in symbols, if we can do P1 or P2, if one of those two things happen, then Q will happen. All right, so P1 or P2 implies Q, right? If we go to a movie or a restaurant implies I'll go downtown with you. All right, translating again. I think I put a lot of translating ones in there because I remember a lot of students asking questions about it. All right. Translate the given statement to symbolic form. Assign letters to the statement that don't contain a negation. Again, I think these are problems I pulled straight from the book. I'll give you $1. There's my conclusion. If you clean your room and take out the trash. All right. So if you clean your room, premise 1, and you take out the trash, premise 2, those two things happen, then I'll give you $1. And the conclusion will occur. All right, so if P and Q, then, if P1 and P2, then Q will happen. This is Q. All right, so if premise 1 and premise 2 occur, that implies the conclusion will happen. All right, if you clean your room and take out the trash, then I will give you $1. Alright, formulate the inverse. I pick the inverse again. Alright, inverse. Maybe I'll do inverse and contrapositive. Alright, so the inverse first. Inverse would be, alright, so if you don't exercise regularly, then your health will decline. So if not P, then Q. Remember, the inverse does the negation of both statements. All right, so we're going to do the exact opposite of both statements. So we're going to, if P, then not Q. That's the inverse. All right, the contrapositive does the negation and flips it. So we have the negation here, and now we just have to flip it. So if not Q, then P. That's the contrapositive. All right, so then we'll write it out in words. All right, so if you don't exercise regularly, well, we'll switch that to not. We'll take, again, the negation is we take away the word don't. All right, so if you exercise regularly, then, and now we want not Q, then your health will not decline. All right, that's the inverse. And now the contrapositive. Since we had done an inverse earlier, I wanted to do a different one. All right, the contrapositive would be, remember, the contrapositive is doing the negation of both statements and then flipping which one was the premise and which one was the conclusion. So we want to flip not Q to be now the premise and P to be the conclusion. All right, so if your health does not decline, then you exercised regularly. All right, that would be the contrapositive of that statement. Next one. Find the converse. Oh, I did do contrapositive. Oh, you just got another example. That's all right. All right, formulate the converse of the given statement. All right, so the converse, remember, is we flip the premise and the conclusion. All right, so again, we do if P, then Q. The converse is if Q, then P. All right, so if you don't exercise regularly, your health will decline. All right, so we flip that. If your health declines, then you didn't exercise regularly. Spell regularly. Do not exercise regularly. All right, formulate the contrapositive of this statement. All right, so first I'm actually going to formulate the if then. All right, if P, then Q. All right, my friends all drive Porsches. All right. So my friends drive Porsches. So if you are a friend, then you drive a Porsche. All right, that would be the rewriting that as an if-then statement. So if you are my friend, then you drive a Porsche. All right, all my friends drive Porsches. All right, the contrapositive of that, remember, when we do the contrapositive, it flips and negates. So we rewrite it as if not Q, then not P. All right, so if you do not drive a Porsche, right? I flip the Porsche and I put the not in front of it. So if you do not drive a Porsche, forgot my R. Can't spell today. are not my friend. Right? So we do the friend as the conclusion and put the not in. And you are not my friend. Right? That's the contrapositive. You flip it and negate it. Alright, the next one. Determine whether the statement is true or false. Mickey Mouse is president of the United States, or 9 plus 9 is 19. Well, both are false. So the entire statement is false. 11. Determine whether the statement is true or false. Mickey Mouse is president of the United States, or... Alright, that was one I just did. Sorry. Mickey Mouse is president of the United States. Oh, I did both of them as ors. Oh, no, this one's different. Mickey Mouse is president of the United States, or 9 plus 9 is equal to 18. That's true, right? 9 plus 9 is equal to 18. Even though this is false, because one of the statements is true, it makes the whole thing true, right? So since 9 plus 9 equals 18 is true, the whole statement is true, because I only need one of those to be true. Alright, next example. Determine whether the statement is true or false. 9 plus 9 equals 20. If 9 plus 9 equals 20, then Mickey Mouse is president of the United States. Well, this is if P, well, that's a false statement. Then Mickey Mouse Q, well, that's also a false statement. So remember, if the if-thens are both false, we consider this a true statement. Again, it's one of those weird things. Alright, determine whether the given statement is true or false. If pigs can fly, then the earth is flat. Alright, the same thing. False. False. True. If false, then false. True. I need two of those because, like I said, that one's the one that's sort of the weird statement. Alright, so that finishes it up there. Make sure you try the homework. If you've got questions, please post them in the forums. Alright, that finishes up 1.3. And then we're actually all done with logic at that point, which is nice.